हेलो गाइस, हाय, हाउ आर यू, हाउ आर यू डूइंग? होप आज अभी आप सभी वीकेंड मोड में आ गए हैं एंड टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू प्ले स्टैनली पैराबल। ये गेम के बारे में सुना काफ़ी है बट कभी खेला नहीं है, सो दिस कुड बी दैट एक्सपीरियंस मे बी। तो जस्ट वांटेड टू सी कि कैसा इसका एक्सपीरियंस होने वाला है। बोल रहे थे कि गेम वन ऑफ द फनीस्ट गेम एवर मेड है, मतलब कि इसमें जो कमेंटेटर होता है जो गेम का, वो आपसे खुद बात करता है। तो लेट्स सी हाउ इट गोज। अजीज भाई, वेलकम वेलकम। हैव यू प्लेड द स्टैनली पैराबल बिफोर? नहीं भाई, मैंने सिर्फ सुना है, पहली बार खेल रहा हूँ। प्लीज एडजस्ट द स्लाइडर until कंप्यूटर इज barely विजिबल। एक सेकेंड, मेरा साउंड भी थोड़ा मैं एडजस्ट कर लेता हूँ। ओके, ये ठीक है। प्लीज एंटर द करंट टाइम। टाइम का क्या चाहिए भाई, इसको टाइम क्यों चाहिए? ठीक है, ये गेम थोड़ा वियर्ड है बोलते हैं, तो लेट्स डू इट। 11:35 AM हो रहा है अभी, एज ऑफ द स्ट्रीम। सर एंटर दैट टाइम। नोट, एक्सेसिबिलिटी सेटिंग्स कैन बी एक्सेस फ्रॉम द मेन्यू। अच्छा भाई, इसने टाइम क्यों पूछा मुझसे? ओके, स्टार्ट करते हैं सर।
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
ओह, हम कंट्रोल में हैं क्या? ठीक है।
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
कुछ नहीं है यहाँ पे। टाइम पूछ के भी गलत टाइम बता रहा है सारा गधा।
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
मैंने जानबूझ के गलत दरवाजा लिया जानने के लिए कि नैरेटर क्या बोलता है.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley's but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
नहीं लूंगा मैं आगे जाऊंगा.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
भाई मैं गलत डिसीजन ले रहा हूँ तो जोक मार रहा है भाई, गालियां दे रहा है मुझे. Do not jump from the cargo lift while it is in motion, will cause death.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
अपन jump मारेगा.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
What the
Good
fuck?
job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
भाई सही है भाई ये.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
कहाँ है यहाँ पे मीटिंग रूम कहाँ पे है? इतने सारे कॉम्बिनेशंस है इसमें
When
भाई.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
ठीक है, इस बार फॉलो करके देखते हैं इसे.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
नीचे जाने का मन तो कर रहा है, बट एक बार उसका पूरा इंस्ट्रक्शन फॉलो करके देखते हैं क्या बोलता है वो.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human
इतना बड़ा है
life.
भाई.
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
अबे
2845.
समझ गया भाई, टाइप नहीं हो रहा है वहाँ पे. ये एक अलग नैरेटर साला.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
क्या भाई हॉरर गेम बन गया क्या ये अब?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Okay.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the
Mind
large door
control
that
facility.
read Mind Control Facility.
एस्केप हो जाऊं? ये माइंड कंट्रोल फैसिलिटी में जाओ भाई. नरेटर ने बोला है करने का तो अपन करेगा. मे बी नेक्स्ट गेम प्ले में मैं चीजें अलग करूंगा. इसमें सब फॉलो कर लेता हूँ.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
अच्छा, तो करना क्या है?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
आयरनी देखो भाई. अभी भी वैसे भी वो जो बोल रहे हैं वही मैं कर रहा हूँ. तो आई एम लिटरली इन कंट्रोल ऑफ हिम.
But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the...
भाई वो गामा सेटिंग्स कहाँ पे है भाई? कुछ दिख नहीं रहा है मुझे. ठीक है, क्या कर सकते हैं?
controls once and for all. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the
करना
bomb
क्या
goes
है?
off. But
इतना
what
बकबक कर रहे
precious
हैं.
moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing
अरे
buttons endlessly and then dying alone.
बंद हो जा भाई.
Other
You have
times,
3 attempts
I let the
remaining.
office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich.
भाई समझ में नहीं
To see
आया.
it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better.
Fuck.
My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now?
Yes.
Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you, running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30
करना
seconds
क्या
until a
है?
big boom and then nothing. No end.
One.
Just you being blown to pieces. Will you
Two.
cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say,
Three.
happily ever up.
क्या हुआ? Fuck this narrator, man. मैं वो बॉम्ब डिफ्यूज करके
All of
रहूंगा.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
भाई इसका भी इसके पास चाल हो गई.
Isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
भाई यार ये गेम ओपी है भाई. मुझे पता है पूरा कोड वगैरह सब कुछ, तो मैं जल्दी जल्दी डाल के आगे बढ़ रहा था, तो उसने उसके लिए मुझे खड़ा कर दिया अभी कि इतना रश क्यों है इसे. लगी म्यूजिक सुन.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Nice one. Nice one.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape में आऊंगा मैं, पहले ये करके आता हूँ.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all. And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
इस बार मैंने ऑफ कर दिया गाइस. लास्ट मैंने ऑन किया था, फिर वो काउंटडाउन टाइमर वाला सिस्टम आया. इस बार नरेटर की बात सुन ली मैंने.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
ये सीधा स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड गेम था, बीट द गेम का ट्रॉफी मिला है मुझे. तो टेक्निकली मैंने गेम को बीट कर दिया, सीधा सिंपल जो इंस्ट्रक्शंस था वो फॉलो कर दिया. नाउ आई कैन डू सम, क्या बोलते हैं, रेवोल्यूशंस.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
इस बार मैं एस्केप होने का ट्राई करूंगा.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
ठीक है, ऊपर जाते हैं, बट इस बार एस्केप करेंगे हम.
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
भाई, amazing man. उसको पता है मैं तीसरी बार खेल रहा हूँ, तो डायलॉग स्किप कर दिया उसी ने, ब्ला 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 बोल के.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
बॉम्ब डिफ्यूज करना है या फिर एस्केप करना है? बॉम्ब डिफ्यूज, एस्केप. बॉम्ब डिफ्यूज ट्राई करें क्या बार? वो बहुत बड़ा प्रोसीजर है, मुझे मेरे ऑडियंस को बोर नहीं करना एक ही बार एक ही चीज कर करके.
Although this
बाद में
passageway
करेंगे.
had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
मेरी मौत लिखी है बोल रहा है वो लास्ट में.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for. Nope, still on board with death.
बस सही है भाई. अभी नहीं, कमेंट्री नहीं है. ठीक, मरने जा रहे हैं हम.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
चलो मरते हैं.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story. Trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life.
नहीं भाई,
Farewell, Stanley.
नहीं भाई.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
लड़की आ गई भाई, नरेटर. तो मुझे जाने दिया. The Stanley
And yet it would
parable.
be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
क्या हो रहा है भाई?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
सॉरी गाइस, बीच में कॉल आ गया था. गेम मेरा अटका नहीं है, मैं बस खड़ा रह गया एक जगह पे. खड़ा हूँ आज भी वही. ओके. स्टैनलीज कंप्यूटर. ओ, ये पूरे एसेट्स है भाई, गेम के एसेट्स है भाई ये. ओके. मतलब ये मेरा डेस्क था, यहाँ से मैं ऐसे बाहर चल के आया. फिर ये क्रू का मतलब एरिया था, फिर वहां से मैंने राइट लिया. फिर यहाँ पे वापस ये था, फिर आगे जाके लेफ्ट लिया, और यहाँ पे दो दरवाजे आए. द ट्विन डोर, द टू डोर्स. हाँ, वही तो. पूरा गेम का मतलब ये एसेट्स है. फाइलिंग कैबिनेट्स, ऑफिस के कंप्यूटर्स जो लगे हुए हैं एम्प्लॉयज के यहाँ पे. वो गेम के क्रेडिट्स भी है भाई. ओके 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 ओके. आई थिंक गेम का एंडिंग है, वन ऑफ द एंडिंग्स है मेरे हिसाब से तो. ये स्टैनली का डेस्क. बटन साउंड्स. ठीक है, अभी ये इन्फॉर्मेशन का करूँ क्या मैं? ये अच्छा तरीका है मतलब क्रेडिट्स देने का. उन्होंने पूरा मतलब ये कर दिया. ये किधर है भाई? ओह, बॉस ऑफिस है. मैंने बीच वाला वर्जन ही देखा है, वो तो देखा ही नहीं मैंने. सी स्क्रीन्स फ्रॉम डेवलपमेंट ऑफ बॉस ऑफिस. अच्छा, ओके.
Well, try the other one then. Where were all of his co-workers? Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him for all his button pushing? Does that sound plausible to you? 4. Where were all of his co-workers? Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him for all his button pushing? Does that sound plausible to you?
ये बहुत अच्छा तरीका है एक्चुअली क्रेडिट्स दिखाने का. आई लाइक इट. बड़ी सिंपल छोटा सा गेम है. आई मीन देयर आर स्टिल मोर सीक्रेट हंटिंग्स हियर जो अभी तक हमने किया नहीं है. इसके बाद हम जाएंगे उसमें भी. ये गेम में था, इन लोगों ने निकाल दिया है. कार्गो लिफ्ट में अभी तक हम गए नहीं है. आई थिंक ये जगह मुझे पूरा गेम खत्म करने के बाद आना चाहिए था, क्योंकि ये पूरा गेम का स्पॉयलर्स दे रहा है मुझे.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game.
What?
As long as you move forward, you'll be walking.
टर्न ऑफ द प्ले स्टेशन. ओ भाई, प्ले स्टेशन टर्न ऑफ करने बोल रहा है. मैं स्ट्रीम चला जाएगा गाइस यूट्यूब पे. ये थोड़ी कर सकूंगा मैं भाई. स्ट्रीम चल रहा है मेरा. ये मेरे पीएस को बंद करने के लिए बोल रहा है मुझे. There is no other way to beat the game बोल रहा है. कर दूं क्या? Stream end हो जाएगा लेकिन.
Someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
कर दूं क्या गेम? भाई ये मुझे PS ऑफ करने के लिए बोल रहा है ये गेम साला. लेकिन PlayStation ऑफ करूंगा स्ट्रीम एंड हो जाएगा भाई. अगर मुझे यहाँ मौत से बचना है तो आई शुड टर्न ऑफ माई PlayStation. नहीं भाई हम मरेंगे लेकिन हमारी स्ट्रीम को हम बंद करने नहीं देंगे गाइस. यस श्रेयंस भाई लाइक यू सेड वी आर नॉट टर्निंग इट ऑफ. हम मौत का सामना डट के करेंगे.
Don't let
मर गया भाई. मर गया भाई. ओ भाई ये गेम मतलब 4th वॉल ब्रेकिंग नहीं भाई, ये 5th 6th 7th वॉल ब्रेकिंग कर रहा है भाई. ये सही है. देख मार दिया मुझे. तो शायद मुझे अगर वो वाला एंडिंग चाहिए तो मुझे PS ऑफ करना ही पड़ेगा, कोई रास्ता नहीं है. ठीक है ठीक है.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
ये क्या नया नरेशन आ रहा है? नरेशन बदल गया गाइस.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office.
इस बार आप नहीं जाएंगे, हम डाउन जाएंगे
Coming
इस
to a
बार.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made
भाई
any
एक ही रूम में घूम रहा हूँ क्या मैं?
And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
रिवर्स में जाऊँ
He
तो
thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just...
Shut up.
Prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming.
भाई इधर ही हो भाई अभी भी.
Someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
ये एक एंडिंग था शायद. वो एक एंडिंग था. ट्रॉफी नहीं दे रही क्या ये लोग इसका? क्या मतलब? ट्रॉफी वगैरह दो यार.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the trophy? Click a door 5 times? Is that all you think a trophy is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks.
हाँ
I
भाई.
suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
ठीक है भाई, कर रहा हूँ भाई. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause.
ये जा रहे. ट्रॉफी दे मुझे.
50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly.
मार दूंगा तुझे मैं. 50 क्लिक नहीं कर रहा मैं. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this trophy to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way no matter the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Door number 417. Door number 417.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
एक ट्रॉफी के लिए इतना कर रहा है देखना. 437 का है अब.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
मैंने लिस्ट ऑफ ट्रॉफीज देखा पीएस में, वहां पे लिखा था कि वो एक डोर पे 5 बार क्लिक करना है.
Now, back to door number 437.
तो इसलिए ये मुझे अभी इतना सारा करा रहा है एक ट्रॉफी के लिए. अबे 437 किधर है?
Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine?
किधर है भाई कॉपी मशीन?
All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
दे दे भाई ट्रॉफी. 417 कहाँ था? हाँ यार.
Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk.
मजाक कर रहा है क्या ये? मत दे ट्रॉफी, नहीं चाहिए, तू ही रख ले साले. फोर 419 का डेस्क कहाँ ढूंढूं मैं अब? 419 418 है यहाँ पे. हाँ यार.
Yes, this is great. You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
अरे बस भाई, साला चूतिया.
We've almost got it. Now the copy machine, do that one again.
पूरी रात बिठाएगा लग रहा है मुझे.
Finish it off, Stanley. 5 clicks on door 430. Yes!
हाँ
We
मिल
did
गया
it.
गाइस.
Oh, wow. That felt amazing.
आप लोगों को वो पीएस का वो वाला एरिया दिख नहीं रहा है? अभी एक
Nothing
पॉपअप
could
आया था
hold
मुझे
you
राइट
back.
साइड
Yes,
में.
I'm very proud of how
ट्रॉफी
far
मिल गया
we've
मुझे.
come today.
तो बस मैं ऐसे ही देख रहा था क्योंकि मुझे अभी तक इतनी ट्रॉफी मिले नहीं है. सिर्फ एक ही ट्रॉफी मिला ट्रू एंडिंग का, तो सोचा कि बाकी ये ट्रॉफी कैसे लेते हैं, ढूंढते हैं. तो उसमें मुझे ये ट्रॉफी मिला. पर ठीक है, चलो ट्रॉफी बाद में करेंगे. अभी और भी बहुत सारे एंडिंग्स इसमें वसूल करना बाकी है. लेट्स डू दैट.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Right,
he
jaayega
entered the
अपन.
door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
नहीं लूंगा.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
लास्ट टाइम ऐसे कूद गया था मैं, तो मर गया था मैं. डू नॉट जंप फ्रॉम कार्बो लिफ्ट व्हेन इट इज इन मोशन. इस बार नहीं करूंगा, इस बार जाऊंगा. कूद के देख लिया
I
मैंने.
think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why,
Yes.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
बंद कर दिया दरवाजा उसने। भाई यहाँ पे भी चॉइस आ रहा है, रेड डोर वाला और ब्लू डोर वाला। यार कितने सारे एंडिंग है, मैं कंफ्यूज हो जाऊंगा कि कौन सा एंडिंग मैंने किया है कौन सा नहीं किया है। तभी वो रेड डोर जाने के लिए बोल रहा है तो मैं उल्टा करूंगा, ब्लू डोर जाऊंगा।
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
ये कैसे बता रहा है देख, रेड डोर मुझे।
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. A 1? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a 1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
फ्रेंड लिस्ट एम्प्टी। मेरे कोई दोस्त नहीं बोल रहा है। A dead rat is objectively above you.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
अब कौन सा गेम लोड करने वाला है वो? हाँ?
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
अबे गधे.
Oh, no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly, block it off.
Hey, open world है तो block कर दे
What a close call. You really wandered off into that thing. That
अरे
big
जाने दे भाई
open,
मुझे.
just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
वापस कोई दूसरी गेम में डाल रहा है मुझे वो.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I
Rocket
had in
League.
mind. Just
Football.
a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Rocket League में
Okay,
डाल
so
दिया
what
भाई इसमें.
exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together? Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun. Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes! Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
क्या कर रहा है नरेटर साला?
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Hold on. What are you
Oh,
doing?
गोल में घुस गया मैं. भाई गोल में घुस गया मैं.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you.
How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
क्या हो रहा है गाइस? ये कहाँ पे हूँ मैं? मेरा रूम 427। करना क्या है?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
अच्छा, रीस्टार्ट करते हैं इसमें।
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
न्यू कंटेंट गाइस, न्यू कंटेंट। हमारे वैसे पुराने में भी अभी थोड़ी चीजें बाकी है, कर सकते हैं हम अभी। न्यू कंटेंट में जाना है। चल नेक्स्ट राउंड में जाएंगे, इस बार नहीं जा रहे हैं। इस बार ऑलरेडी जो है वो करेंगे। हाँ क्या है भाई? ये भाई बदल गया, सारी चीजें बदल गई भाई।
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was
कर चुका हूँ
crazy.
मैं।
And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet?
ये कर चुका हूँ मैं।
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
लास्ट टाइम ये
I'm not
दरवाजे से
trusting
गया
you
था मैं,
really
इस बार मुझे ये दरवाजे से
I
जाना।
realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
जो भी ये कुछ है। ओह,
No, wait. Where are you going? Right. Where were we? Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. No! Oh, thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, no. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me? Yes. Perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about. I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
कुछ तो हो रहा है भाई। मुझे और एक बार सुसाइड अटेम्प्ट
No,
करना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे।
perhaps not. My God, Is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to
श्रेयांश भाई
ask.
नमस्ते.
It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours. Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
वापस स्टार्ट. लेकिन ये जो
All his
एंडिंग ये सब कर
co-workers
रहा
were
हूँ,
gone.
कुछ तो दे मुझे
What could
यार,
it mean?
ट्रॉफी वगैरह कुछ.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ट्रॉफीज, यू ऑल ट्रॉफीज. एक सेकंड गाइस, मैं ट्रॉफीज देख रहा हूँ. Excellent job following directions. Obtain all trophies. Test trophy, please ignore. वो कैसे मिलता है पता नहीं ना. Welcome back. Quit the game and then start it again. Play the Stanley Parable for the entire duration of a Tuesday. क्या मतलब? पूरा एक दिन खेलने के लिए बोल रहा है, उसके लिए एक ट्रॉफी देगा बोल रहा है वो. Play the Stanley Parable for the entire duration of a Tuesday. पागल है क्या? भाई एक ट्रॉफी तो मिल ही नहीं सकता भाई. और एक ट्रॉफी जो है उसमें क्या है पता है रूल ट्रॉफी लेने का? डोंट प्ले स्टैनली पैराबल फॉर 10 years, तब जाके वो ट्रॉफी मिलेगा तुमको. ये तो ले ही नहीं पाएंगे भाई. क्या बकचोदी है. इसका एक सेटिंग है, इसका भी एक ट्रॉफी है भाई, इसलिए कर रहा हूँ मैं. मतलब तू हर एक स्लाइडर को पूरे नंबर पे रखना है तो तुझे एक ट्रॉफी
This
मिलेगा.
is the story of a man named Stanley.
देख अभी पॉज मेनू में वो बात करेगा
Story of a
कुछ.
man named Stanley.
मिला नहीं ट्रॉफी, क्या मतलब? सारे स्लाइडर को इधर उधर किए मैंने. चलो न्यू कंटेंट ही खेल लेते हैं फिर.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
हाँ भाई ऊपर तो जा.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere? Oh, here we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
ओह जंप डाल दिया गेम में जंप ही नहीं है. हाँ भाई अंश को ये गेम का नरेटर बनाना चाहिए. भाई ये सर्कल के अंदर जंप कर सकते हो, सर्कल के बाहर जंप नहीं हो सकता है. गेम में जंप है ही नहीं एक्चुअली. यही इसका जोक है यहाँ पे. गेम में जंप ही नहीं है, लेकिन ये इसके अंदर तुम जंप कर सकते हो. अब जंप नहीं कर सकते. ठीक है, ओके. न्यू कंटेंट.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Again elevator.
Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are
मैं वही बोल रहा था. मैं वही बोल रहा था. और एक elevator और इसने भी वही बोला.
Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says Test Trophy.
अब भी देख रहा था भाई मैं कसम से बोल रहा हूँ. अभी अगर तुम लोग मेरा स्ट्रीम देख रहे थे 2 मिनट पहले मैं देख रहा था कि क्या क्या ट्रॉफीज है ये गेम पे और कैसे ट्रॉफीज जीतूंगा मैं. उसमें से एक ट्रॉफी का नाम टेस्ट ट्रॉफी था भाई. मैं वही सोचा ये क्यों टेस्ट ट्रॉफी. भाई पूरा नाम तो दे दे ट्रॉफी का. और एक ट्रॉफी तो लिखा है कि तुम 10 साल तक ये गेम मत खेलो, तब अगर नहीं खेलोगे तब उनको ट्रॉफी मिलेगा. ये क्या बकचोदी है भाई. और एक जो छोड़ के फिर इसके अंदर आया मैं और यहाँ पे वो टेस्ट ट्रॉफी की जिक्र हो रही है भाई.
Up and signed off on this. I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. just you and me, having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
अबे उसी ने रिस्टार्ट कर दिया, मुझे रिस्टार्ट करना भी नहीं था। नहीं लेकिन ये अलग है, ये अलग है, ये अलग है, ये अलग है। न्यू कंटेंट, न्यू कंटेंट है भाई ये। हमारी गेम ऐसे नहीं होती, हमारी गेम ऐसी रहती है जब हम ऑफिस से बाहर निकलते हैं तो। अब ऐसी है।
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
मैं ऊपर जाऊंगा पहले। तेरी बात नहीं सुनने वाला नरेटर में, भाग जाए यहाँ से।
Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
देखो या ना देखो, ये साला यार इतने सारे ऑप्शन दे रहा है, अब कंफ्यूज हो गया। सीधा जाओ या वो जो बुला रहा है वहां जाओ। ठीक है, बड़े बुजुर्गों ने बोला बुलाती है मगर जाने का नहीं, तो अपन नहीं जाएंगे। ये तो पुराना वाला है, हमारा पुराना ऑफिस। तो फिर जाता हूँ ना वहां पे, ये तो पता है अभी यहाँ पे क्या देखना है। ठीक है, फिर भी एक बार देख लेते हैं कुछ बदला हुआ है क्या। नहीं, न्यू कंटेंट वही, सेम सेम, सेम टू सेम।
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
अबे वही है, वही है, वही है। बिगिन द गेम। अब आएगा या नहीं आएगा? आया 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 आया। मैं वही सोच रहा, नहीं आया तो कहाँ जाऊंगा मैं।
Psst. Stanley, come
आ
over
रहा हूँ,
here.
आ रहा हूँ, आ रहा
In
हूँ।
the vent. I want to
शांति।
show you something.
क्या लिखा है? कॉफी, कॉफी नट। नाइट मोड है, न्यू कंटेंट। वो भी सिर्फ एक ही मिनट के लिए था
You
भाई।
remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new ultra deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
क्या भाई ये? एल्डन रिंग वाली वाइब दे रहा है।
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
द मेमोरी जोन, मतलब जब वो पहली बार लॉन्च हुआ था तब का, 2013 का।
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
हाँ भाई, रावण की फेवरेट गेम माइनक्राफ्ट। कल भी वो कुछ स्ट्रीम कर रहा था, बट समझ में नहीं आया क्या था वो। अगर बता देते तो अच्छा रहता ऑडियंस को। क्या लिखा है यहाँ पे? द ब्रिटिश अकेडमी ऑफ फिल्म एंड टेलीविजन आर्ट्स अवार्डेड टू स्टैनली पैराबल। भाई किसी और का नाम हटा के स्टैनली पैराबल को मिला अवार्ड लिख दिया इसने। ऑडियंस अवार्ड, द स्टैनली पैराबल 2014 इंडिपेंडेंट गेम्स फेस्टिवल। मे बी रियल में मिला होगा अभी भाई, नहीं पता मुझे, मजाक नहीं करूंगा मैं। रावण को और इस गेम के नरेटर को समझना मुश्किल है। मुश्किल ही नहीं भाई, नामुमकिन है, नामुमकिन। डॉन को भी पकड़ लोगे एक बार, इन दोनों को नहीं समझ पाओगे। ब्रिटिश एकेडमी अवार्ड विनर, गेम इनोवेशन, डेब्यू गेम, स्टोरी, इतने सारे अवार्ड्स मिले भाई ये गेम को। न्यू वीडियो गेम रिलीजिंग टुडे। अभी मुझे ये नहीं पता ये सब ट्रोल कर रहे हैं वो लोग मतलब, या फिर रियल में ये सब आवाज रियल है, ये नहीं पता मुझे। रियल हो भी सकते हैं, भरोसा नहीं, कि गेम काफी फेमस था वैसे। वी आर बैक इन माइनक्राफ्ट गाइस। कौन गा
And
रहा
in
है भाई?
here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no
स्काईरिम और
games at
परसोना
all. It
रेफरेंस
isn't
गाइस।
even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
द ओरिजिनल रीमेक।
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation. Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
भाई सही है भाई कमेंट्री इसकी।
These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear.
भाई यहाँ पे जो कमेंटर है उसका नाम भी डाला हुआ है भाई।
These black marks on my
Noodle
otherwise
Chef.
unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
जिसने कमेंट किया उसके नाम के साथ कमेंट डाला है भाई गेम के अंदर। रियल लाइफ कमेंट है भाई वो।
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking
Karo
for,
skip,
and I'm
guys.
very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore
बोलो
by
skip
becoming
करना
it
है.
is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we
ये
all
बकता
until the
रहेगा जब
end
तक मैं
of
skip नहीं करता
time,
हूँ.
at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. But the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on.
Skip.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a
Skip.
treatise. Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption...
Skip.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well...
Skip.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone.
Oh,
I've looked at it from
हाँ.
every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you
भाई
from
दरवाजा
pressing the
चला गया
button
भाई.
again.
बाहर कैसे
I
जाऊंगा?
can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't
मैं और एक
touch
बार
it,
skip करने
and I
वाला हूँ.
have to believe. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley,
सिर्फ एक ही लाइट है.
it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just
ये
talking?
प्लांट मर गया
It
भाई.
isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which
Skip
my
करूँ?
words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever
साल
sat down in one place and not moved for one
एक
entire
साल से
year?
ज्यादा हो
Let
गया
me
भाई
describe it for you.
ये
To
लास्ट स्किप
begin
में।
with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret.
अब कितने साल हुए होंगे? 5 साल? हेलो नरेटर, नरेटर भैया, भैया किधर हो? कुछ तो बोल दो, आपकी याद सतावे मिन्नू। नरेटर भैया, नहीं है नरेटर भैया? ठीक है भाई, और एक स्किप मारता भाई, यही नहीं बंदा तो स्किप का है क्या मारने का? ठीक है मारते हैं फिर भी। भाई क्या है भाई ये? बम बम फुट रहा है क्या कहीं पे? घड़ी नीचे गिर गई है भाई। भाई कान में दर्द हो रहा है, मैं स्किप कर रहा हूँ ये।
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to
किससे
be
बात
funny.
कर
It
रहा
was
है
meant to have a
तू?
point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed
भाई
their
मैं
teeth
अभी
and
आया हूँ,
said,
किससे बात कर रहा है?
entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking
अपने
into
आप
the
को कोस रहा है
world.
वो।
As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should.
भाई स्किप बटन को बहुत सीरियसली ले लिया इन लोगों ने। भाई अभी तो पता भी नहीं कितने 100 साल निकल गए यहाँ पे। हर एक बटन में ज्यादा समय गुजरता है हर एक स्किप में। कहाँ गया?
The end is never the end, 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 is never the
भैया तो अभी क्रीपी हो रहा है नरेटर।
is never the end, 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 is never the.
नरेटर वाह, बबुआ किधर हो? ओ भैया जी, आप नहीं हो इधर? ठीक है भाई, सो के उठो, हम स्किप करके आए। भाई टूट गया है चीजें यहाँ पे। कितने साल हो गए भाई? 100 साल, 1000 साल, 10,000 साल। भैया उजाला भाई उजाला। हम स्पेस में हैं या आसमान दिख रहा है अभी तक? ऑक्सीजन है या नहीं? भैया नरेटर भैया, मरवर गए क्या? किंजित्सु में ट्रैप हो गया। ओहो, ये देखा 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 भाई लोग, देखो जरा सा उजाला दो सूरज की किरणों से, हर तरफ नेचर ही नेचर उग जाता है। देखो सिर्फ ये एक टूटा हुआ छत जिसके वजह से इतना नेचर आ गया है यहाँ पे। घड़ी यहाँ गिर के पड़ी थी। हाँ यहाँ अभी तो है, घड़ी तो है भाई, घड़ी के ऊपर पत्थर पड़ा है। लेकिन अब नरेटर गया तेल लेने, और एक स्किप करते हम फ्यूचर में जाएंगे। फ्यूचर का नेचर का गया मेरा भाई। अभी तो तारीफ की नहीं यार, इतना जल्दी निकाल दिया नेचर को। मेरी घड़ी है क्या उधर? घड़ी घड़ी, हाँ घड़ी है, घड़ी के ऊपर पत्थर भी है, पर नेचर चला गया यार। क्या चल रहा है? हेलो, कोई है? आसमान में तारे नहीं है, बट ठीक है भाई। स्किप बटन भी नीचे गिर गया अब तो। भैया कहाँ गए नरेटर? ये रूम टेढ़ा क्यों दिख रहा है मुझे? थोड़ा टेढ़ा हो गया कि गिर गया? ये क्या है भाई? डेजर्ट? भाई क्या हुआ दुनिया को? भैया जी, नरेटर हो? ठीक है, ठीक है, हम स्किप कर देंगे, हमारी कान फट रही है, नहीं कर सकते। अरे नहीं कर पा रहे हैं स्किप। जा कहाँ रहा हूँ मैं? क्या था ये? What the fuck was that, guys?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hey, computer off कर पा रहा हूँ मैं?
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
ये नहीं था शायद मेरे हिसाब से पहले। इनपुट रिसीव्ड। ये कुछ तो गड़बड़ है यहाँ पे। कुछ इनपुट का चोचला चल रहा है यहाँ पे। What? न्यू कंटेंट जो न्यू था उसके अंदर और एक न्यू कंटेंट आया हुआ है दोस्तों। तो करे क्या? चलो करते हैं।
You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
भाई बकचोदी रुकनी नहीं चाहिए भाई। और एक एलिवेटर यार, स्लो रहेगा यार ये। इसकी माँ का।
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the
करंट चला गया।
Stanley Parable 2. Yes,
क्या
you
बात
see,
है?
isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2
Taste the
is
sequel.
just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's
एक्चुअली एक रियल स्टोरी है। मैं अंश गेमिंग से भी बात कर रहा था एक गेम के बारे में कुछ दिनों पहले। तब मैंने उसको सजेस्ट किया था भाई कि स्टैनली पैराबल 2 सर्च कर करके। फिर उसने बताया भाई स्टैनली पैराबल 2 तो आई ही नहीं है भाई, सिर्फ स्टैनली पैराबल ही आई है। और फिर उसने देखा कि भाई अल्ट्रा डीलक्स करके कुछ है करके। मैंने बोला भाई ये शायद 2 आई नहीं है भाई, शायद गलतफहमी है मेरी। बट अभी नरेटर भैया बोल रहे हैं यहाँ पे कि अल्ट्रा डीलक्स 30 अल्ट्रा डीलक्स नाम कौन क्यों रखता है उसको? स्टैनली पैराबल 2 ही बना लेते उससे अच्छा तो। मतलब मुझे ये गेम जो है ना एक अलग लेवल में हिट कर रही है, क्योंकि रियल लाइफ कॉन्वर्सेशंस भी मेरे इसके बारे में हुए और अब ये जो नरेटर है वो भी बिल्कुल मतलब फोर्थ वॉल ब्रेक करके हिट कर रहा है मुझे.
Future oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
न्यू कंटेंट इज आउट, न्यू कंटेंट पार्ट 2 इज इन. ओ मतलब नया कंटेंट आउट मतलब निकाल दिया मैंने बाहर. वो वाला आउट बोल रहा है वो. और न्यू कंटेंट इज इन, अभी उसका भी एक नया कंटेंट अंदर डाल दिया करके वैसा बोल रहा है. कूल रेड सेक्शन ऑफ द चार्ट, बोरिंग सेक्शन ऑफ द चार्ट. ओल्ड प्लस बस्टेड, न्यू हॉटनेस. भाई डिटेल्स भाई ये गेम में मतलब क्या बोलूं मैं. दे आर बैक, द टू डोर्स. स्टैनली पैराबल पीपीटी, भाई पीपीटी का स्क्रीनशॉट डाला हुआ है देखो. लिटरली गूगल का जो प्रेजेंटेशन है वो वाला है ये. क्या बना है यहाँ पे, द स्टैनली पैराबल 2, द स्टैनली लोगो अलग अलग स्टाइल. ये देख भाई, स्टैनली पैराबल के अंदर ही जो बी और एल है उसको लाल कर दिया, वन आई आई जैसा, तो टू बनाने के लिए. रेसिडेंट इविल विलेज का कॉपी. ये सारे लोगों कहीं कहीं से कॉपी किए गए हैं ऐसा मुझे फील हो रहा है. बट ओके व्हाटएवर. स्टैनली पैराबल 2, नाइस. स्टैनली पैराबल 2 लोगो. इसमें दो स्टैनली को डाल दिया भाई स्टैनली पैराबल 2 में. भाई सही है यार.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
भाई स्टैनली पैराबल 2 है तो इसीलिए फिर 2 आइज 2 ईयर्स 2 नॉस्ट्रल 2 आर्म्स 2 लेग्स. भाई ये गेम सही है भाई, सही है. मतलब ये सब जो है ना ये हिडन ह्यूमर है, मतलब वो दीवार पे कहीं पे लगा है कोई देखेगा भी नहीं. मतलब अगर जो डिटेल्स नोटिस करते हैं उनके लिए अच्छा रहेगा. सीक्वल्स आर गुड. पोर्टल 2 हाँ अच्छी गेम है. हाफ लाइफ 2 बिल्कुल अच्छी गेम है. बैटमैन आर्खम असैलम 2 भी अच्छी गेम है. डिविनिटी ओरिजिनल सिन 2 इसका नहीं पता. डूम 2 अच्छा था. अलादीन 2 का पता नहीं. डार्क सोल्स ऑब्वियसली अच्छी गेम है. सो सीक्वल्स आर गुड. द स्टैनली पैराबल 2, द प्रीक्वल टू द स्टैनली पैराबल 2 इज द सीक्वल टू द स्टैनली पैराबल इज द प्रीक्वल टू द स्टैनली पैराबल 2. क्या है भाई. भाई 2 करना है मतलब कुछ भी कर दो भाई, हर जगह जितनी जगह 2 लिख सको लिख दो भाई. क्या मतलब ये? बकचोदी रुकनी नहीं चाहिए भाई. एप्पल की जगह क्या डाला है पे कौवा. इसके अंदर भी वही पीपीटी प्ले हो रहा है. ठीक है भाई. द वे टू द शो फ्लोर. ओके. न्यू फीचर्स, न्यू कंटेंट. अच्छा तो ये पार्ट 2 में क्या नए फीचर्स आएंगे उसके बारे में. वोट फॉर, हाँ भाई पॉलिटिकल बन गया भाई अब तो ये. ठीक है चलो ऊपर जाके देखते हैं आया क्या है नया फीचर. एक्सपो हॉल, स्टैनली पैराबल 2 का एक्सपो.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
ओके देखते हैं वन बाय वन क्या क्या फीचर्स आए हैं वो. एक्सक्लूसिव, द बटन दैट सेज द नेम ऑफ द प्लेयर दैट इज प्लेइंग द गेम. हियर योर नेम इन द गेम. इसको कैसे पता मेरा नाम क्या है. चल घोस्ट आएगा क्या दबाऊंगा तो.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
ये देखो भाई नेम, हियर योर्स टुडे, एवरीवनस गॉट वन. बट भाई अभी तो मेरी रियल में फट रही है, ये क्लिक करने पे क्या आएगा, मतलब वो उसको थोड़ी पता चलेगा मैं कौन हूँ यार। ठीक है फिर भी, लेट्स सी।
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
कर दिया भाई।
I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim,
डन।
sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now?
साले ने मेरा नेम तो गेस नहीं किया, तो मेरा रियल लाइफ नेम बदल दिया और बोल रहा है अब मैं जिम हूँ, क्योंकि उसने जिम बोला, अब तो मैं जिम बन जाऊँ। क्या बकचोदी है।
If so, then please step forward and press the button.
ठीक है भाई, बन गया मैं जिम, आज से मेरा नाम जिम है भाई।
Yes, you see, what a thrill, what a rush, that was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again. Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation. Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the gym button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
बटन फेंक दिया रे बंदे ने, तो बहुत ज्यादा दबा रहा है करके बटन उड़ा दिया देख। सही है यार। ठीक है, नेक्स्ट फीचर ट्राई करेंगे दोस्तों। ये एक फीचर के लिए इतना बड़ा रूम वेस्ट किया है उसने। नाइस।
I
Enjoy
suppose I
the
could
new
allow only
features.
people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
ये पूरा बोर्ड सब चेंज हो गया गाइस। पहले लिखा था हियर योर नेम, और अभी हो गया द बटन दैट सेज जिम। ठीक है, व्हाटएवर। यहाँ ये क्या जा रहा है, वो बाद में जाएंगे, चलो। नो स्क्रीनशॉट्स। यहाँ पे मैं स्क्रीनशॉट लूंगा, देखते हैं कुछ मिलता है क्या। नहीं रे, कुछ नहीं मिला। The updated ray traced, more of the same but in a good way. रे ट्रेसिंग का मजाक कर लिया गाइस। इन्फिनिट होल, ओके। वो पहला वाला तो हमने कर लिया, नेम ऑफ द प्लेयर वाला हो गया। जंप सर्कल और इन्फिनिट होल बाकी है, करेंगे, वो भी करेंगे। मर्च। आई वंडर ये क्यूआर कोड स्कैन करने से क्या होगा गाइस। मेरी उम्मीद है कि एक गेम एक बकचोद गेम है, तो इसका क्यूआर कोड में भी कुछ तो बकचोदी होनी चाहिए। तो आई जस्ट टेक अ सेकंड, में ऐसे ही जस्ट स्कैन करके देखता हूँ कि कुछ होता भी है क्या। एंड आई एम राइट एक्चुअली। ये खोलने पे ऑफिशियल स्टैनली पैराबल 2 की वेबसाइट ओपन हो रही है। उसमें यूट्यूब वीडियो वगैरह है भाई। नाइस डिटेल्स गाइस, इट्स ऑल डिटेल्स। मुझे पता था ये गेम ये बकचोदी जरूर करेगा भाई। ये गेम गोश्त बोलो भाई, मर जाता भाई मैं, गेम क्विट कर देता, मैं डर जाता मैं। बकेट, बकेट में जाएंगे जरूर। उसके पहले यहाँ पे क्या है।
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on
बंद
this
कर
one.
दिया
I
साले।
think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
हर जगह बटन बदल दिए.
Maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
ये किधर आ गया ना? ओ उधर ही हूँ मैं भी. ये जंप से रख ले. बैक टू द स्टार्ट. यहाँ पे ही हूँ मैं. That's new. वो क्या है भाई? नया ट्रॉफी. यहाँ पे ट्रॉफी मिल रहा है. ट्रॉफी चाहिए गाइस. मुझे ट्रॉफी चाहिए. मैं ट्रॉफी कलेक्टर. ओके यहाँ पे क्या क्या है? यू आर हियर. जंप सर्कल. दिस मैप जो हम देख रहे हैं अभी. यस. फ्री ट्रॉफी. द बटन दैट सेज द नेम ऑफ द प्लेयर वो हमने कर लिया. मर्क हमने देख लिया. सेटिंग्स वर्ल्ड चैंपियन वो हमने नहीं देखा है अभी तक. यही कहीं पे रहना चाहिए वो. पीछे है वो. ओके. देखेंगे. स्टैनली पैराबल रीअश्योरेंस बकेट वो हमको देखना है अभी बाकी है. ऑफिस डेकोरेशंस वो कहाँ था? हाँ वो हमने देख लिया अभी. बलून वाला. एपिलॉग हमने देखा नहीं है. बाकी है कलेक्टेबल्स. इन्फिनिट होल. एग्जिट. एग्जिट वो तरफ है. एग्जिट बाद में जाएंगे. पहले बाकी की चीजें देख लेंगे. पहले ट्रॉफी पे जाते हैं. चलो ये फिर इसमें जाते हैं. जंप सर्कल.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle.
यस.
Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
भाई नंबर बढ़ा दे चूत. एक दो जंप तो मार ही लेता हूँ. बढ़ा दे नंबर. साला हरामी आदमी है तो. इन्फिनिट होल. न्यू इजी ट्रॉफी. चलो ट्रॉफी करते हैं. Get yours today. Pull the lever, receive your new trophy. No more steps. It just works.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes, you see, you'll come to this... Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the trophy is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
अरे ट्रॉफी चाहिए मुझे वो वाली. क्या मतलब नहीं ले सकते? तो बनाया क्यों है ये वाला रूम? साले हरामी. ट्रॉफी देगा बोल के नहीं दिया साले ने.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
भाई ये टेस्ट ट्रॉफी अब चाहिए भाई मुझे. आर यू श्योर कोई तरीका नहीं है? साला फिर रखा क्यों था इसने? पागल आदमी. नेक्स्ट क्या है भाई? यू कैन फाइंड देम. कलेक्ट देम ऑल.
collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
थैंक यू। एक मिला, बाकी का सिर्फ एक ही दिया तूने और 5 चाहिए।
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
इन्फिनिट होल जा गया तो
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
कूद जाऊं?
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Great! Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel. Okay. And I guess we're back in the hole now. Did you really need to see it again? I don't know what else there is to say, Stanley. It's an infinite hole. It's exactly what you're doing right now, but forever. There really are so many other fascinating exhibits that
अपन कूदेगा भाई, अपन को कूदना है, अपन कूदेगा।
and I would very much like to show you some more of them. How about we go ahead and press that teleport button again so we can get back to what's really important about... Oh, goodness. Well, this is rather embarrassing, Stanley. I'll be honest with you. I truly did not believe that anyone would actually stay in the hole long enough to hit the bottom. Yes, I know. I told you the hole was infinite, but come on. Who actually wants to fall forever? The hole was plenty deep. It was more than deep enough, in my opinion. Maybe it's you who likes falling too much. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Mostly infinite hole. रीनेम भी कर दिया है बंदे ने इतना जल्दी। ओके, इन्फिनिट होल भी हो गया है गाइस। टेस्ट ट्रॉफी तो मिला नहीं, ये हमने कर लिया, ये हमने कर लिया। एग्जिट है वो बाद में देखेंगे। यहाँ पे और क्या है? एपिलॉग है, चल एपिलॉग करते हैं।
epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
खुल जा। आई थिंक मुझे वो टेस्ट ट्रॉफी यहाँ से मिलेगा ऐसा मुझे लग रहा है, मुझे पता नहीं है लेकिन। एक सेकंड गाइस, मैं जरा गूगल कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि मेरे हिसाब से टेस्ट ट्रॉफी इधर ही रहना चाहिए, बट मुझे क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है। फिर हम मैंने मिस कर दिया तो वापस इधर आ पाएंगे क्या? यूँ टेस्ट ट्रॉफी लेना बहुत ही बड़ा मतलब प्रोसेस है। एनीवेज, सॉरी भाई श्रेयांश भाई, मुझे नहीं पता था आप देख रहे हो। एनीवेज, सो ले सकते हैं ये, बट ये मतलब पूरा गेम खेल के मतलब एट द एंड में ये अनलॉक होता है मशीन, तो अभी तो नहीं ले पाएंगे हम, छोड़ देंगे। लेकिन ये क्या था सेटिंग्स वाला, वो समझ में नहीं आया। सेटिंग, सेटिंग्स वर्ल्ड चैंपियन। ओके, सेटिंग्स वर्ल्ड चैंपियन का जो डोर है ये उन लोगों के लिए है जो सेटिंग्स के सारे ऑप्शंस को चेंज किया होगा. आई हैव टू डू दिस गाइस. थोड़ा सब्र रख लो. ये तो गान मरा रहा है भाई ये गेम तो.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
वैसा नहीं है भाई श्रेयांश
This is
भाई,
the
यहाँ पे
story
एक
of a
अचीवमेंट
man
है कि
named
तुम
Stanley.
सारे सेटिंग्स के सारे स्लाइडर को हर एक नंबर
This
पे
is the
सेट
story
करोगे.
of a man named Stanley.
मतलब अगर वॉल्यूम 100 है तो 0 से लेके 100 तक का सारा वॉल्यूम तुमको सेट करना पड़ेगा 1 by 1. तब जाके तुमको एक ट्रॉफी मिलेगी. तो इसलिए मैं एक एक करके सारे वॉल्यूम को 0 करके वापस फिर 100 कर रहा हूँ.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
सिर दर्द का काम है बट इससे कुछ अचीवमेंट मिलता है तो ठीक है भाई. देखते हैं. और एक बाकी है मेरा. हो भी जा भाई, हाथ दुख रहे हैं अब मेरे. हाँ भाई, सब कुछ और एक 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 बार टैप करना पड़ रहा है भाई. हो यहाँ पे अलग ये सबटाइटल्स के हैं. सॉरी गाइस अगर आपको ये सेक्शन ऑफ द गेम बोरिंग लग रहा है तो, बट दिस इज फॉर द ट्रॉफी. अरे भैंस की आंख. भाई इसमें कितने पॉइंट है? सब में 100 थे. इसमें क्या 500 तक जाएगा क्या? अरे भैंस की आंख. ट्रॉफी के लिए करना पड़ रहा है गाइस, सिर्फ ट्रॉफी के लिए. थैंक यू माय अमेजिंग ऑडियंस जो बैठ के मुझे सिर्फ नंबर काउंट करते हुए देख रही है यहाँ पे. अरे अरे कहाँ गया? आई होप मैंने आधे में छोड़ा तो वहां से कंटिन्यू हो रहा है. हाँ कंटिन्यू हो रहा है भाई. यस, सो थैंक यू फॉर माय अमेजिंग ऑडियंस जो यहाँ पे बैठ के सिर्फ नंबर को ऊपर होते हुए देख रही है. कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं चल रहा है अभी. हम 240 पे पहुंचे हैं. 250, 260, 270, 280 और पता नहीं कब तक जाएगा. क्या ये करना ज़रूरी है? ज़िंदगी के दुख दर्द मोह माया से हम इतने दूर आ चुके हैं कि हम अब बैठ के सिर्फ एक बटन को बार बार दबा रहे हैं. क्या यही बचा है हमारी ज़िंदगी में? इससे आगे बढ़ो गाइस, ऐसी ज़िंदगी मत रखो. भाई ये सालों ने जानबूझ के 500 तक का नंबर दिया जानबूझ के। मेरे हिसाब से 500 से भी ज्यादा जाएगा ये। सारे चूतिया गेम डेवलपर्स भाई। इन अ गुड वे, मतलब अच्छी तरीके से गाली दे रहा हूँ, मतलब नॉट इन अ बैड वे, बट फिर भी इरिटेटिंग कैसे करना है उसको अच्छी तरीके से समझ के किया है उन लोगों ने। हाँ भाई। और वो सब कुछ एक एक करके दबाना पड़ रहा है, वही तो यहाँ पे दिक्कत है। ठीक है वैसे तो कर दिया हमने। और क्या बाकी है? भाई नहीं भाई, सीबीए ऑन क्या इसमें लौड़े लग गए भाई। ये सब कुछ ऑन करके सबका सेटिंग्स तो नहीं है ना भाई? नहीं ये सिर्फ इसका है क्या? ठीक है कर लेते हैं। एटलीस्ट ये 100 है तो नॉट बैड, कर लेंगे। भाई मिल गया भाई, ट्रॉफी मिल गया भाई मुझे। गाइस आई डिड इट। खुल जा, खुल जा, मैंने कर दिया। यस।
Ah, I can see you've gotten the Settings World Champion trophy. Well done. You've experienced every setting, traveled to all corners of the settings menu. There's nothing you haven't seen. So just for you, in the Stanley Parable 2, I'm including an entirely new setting, something called bumpscosity. What exactly is bumpscosity? Well, I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but I know that you'll be able to adjust it on some sort of slider and that it'll be accessible from the settings menu. We'll sort out the rest of the details later. I hope you're looking forward to trying out every level of bumpscosity in the Stanley Parable 2.
भाई इतना ही मिला बस, ये देख भाई। यू आर द चैंपियन ऑफ सेटिंग ऑल द स्लाइडर्स टू ऑल पॉसिबल नंबर्स, प्लीज एंजॉय दिस रूम, दिस इज योर रूम, इट वाज मेड जस्ट फॉर यू। और यहाँ पे मीम डाल दिया, दे विल नेवर सेट द सेटिंग स्लाइडर्स टू एवरी पॉसिबल सेटिंग्स। और ये टट्टी सा एक पीपीटी प्रेजेंटेशन, ग्रेट जॉब यू डिड इट, कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशन सेटिंग्स वर्ल्ड चैंपियन। बस यही है, बस इतना ही मिला मुझे अचीवमेंट के नाम पे। मेरा अंगूठा दर्द दे दिया भाई दबा दबा के बटन मेरा। सही है भाई, लेकिन आई थिंक मैंने कुछ ऑन कर दिया है गलती से, जो मुझे भी ऑफ करना पड़ेगा। क्या ऑन किया है मैंने? शो ट्रांसलेशन लेबल्स, हाँ इसको ऑन कर दिया मैंने। ठीक है ये भी हो गया, और एक ही चीज बाकी है यहाँ पे, वो है बकेट। हम बकेट करेंगे उसके बाद। बकेट भैया किधर हो? स्टैनली पैराबल रीअश्योरेंस बकेट।
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy
किधर है
to
बकेट?
say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, It's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Ooh, bucket guys.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person.
Thank
The
you.
benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more awaits you in the Stanley Parable too.
अच्छा, तो क्या करो अभी बकेट का बाल्टी से पानी भरो क्या? या खेत में टट्टी करने जैसे ही बकेट में पानी लेके जाऊंगा? मतलब क्या है बकेट का? क्या फ्रेमिंग किया है भाई नंबर 2 का? सही है.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
ये हो गया, सब कुछ हो गया. ऑफिस डेकोरेशन, एपिलॉग, कलेक्टिबल्स, इन्फिनिट होल, एग्जिट. ठीक है भाई, सब कुछ हो गया. अब बारी है एग्जिट की.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
ओह गाइस, स्टैनली पैराबल 2 में आ चुके हैं हम. Just look at this game man. नया स्क्रीन बना लिया इसने, नया टाइटल स्क्रीन. गेम का नाम ही नहीं है और वो गेम का नाम रख के उसने एक नया स्क्रीन बना लिया भाई. ले लो खेलो स्टैनली पैराबल 2 खेलो जाओ. बना ही नहीं है अभी तक. This game was developed by Cross. ठीक है, begin the game. नई गेम, नई
This is
शुरुआत.
the story of a man.
क्या हम सेम पर्सन हैं? नहीं,
All of
balloons.
his co-workers were
Guys.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided
Same
to go to the
game,
meeting room.
same
Perhaps
same
he
but
simply missed the
different.
memo.
Nobody. Hey, same but different हो गया भाई ये तो. ये इनपुट का कुछ कांड है, वो हम करना चाहते हैं. कैसे करते हैं नहीं पता, बट विल फिगर इट आउट.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
हाँ भाई समझ गया. हाँ इनपुट रिसीव हुआ देखो. और 3 पॉइंट बाकी. हर एक बार जब गेम स्टार्ट होता है मुझे कुछ करके यहाँ पे इनपुट रिसीव का नंबर बढ़ाना है. और उससे होता क्या नहीं पता, बट विल फिगर इट आउट. कंटेंट ही
Stanley
कंटेंट है
felt
भाई
the
गेम में.
bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why
बकेट
was he not doing it?
बकेट बकेट किधर है? मेरी बकेट वेयर इज इट? कहाँ? मैंने पिकअप नहीं किया बोल रहा है वो, मुझे मिला ही नहीं. बकेट.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
वाह, अभी मैं हैंडसम दिख रहा हूँ ना बकेट के साथ.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
अब on राइट जाएगा.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was.
भाई
How insightful the bucket.
ये गेम में कितनी बार इन लोगों ने ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग की होगी भाई, सोच के देखो जरा. भाई जिम का क्या हुआ
turned
भाई?
out to be.
कुछ तो रेफरेंस होगा श्रेयांश भाई, मेरे हिसाब से जिम भी आएगा ही, क्योंकि बकेट आ गया है, बलून्स आ गया है, कुछ ना कुछ तो गड़बड़ हो रहा है यहाँ पे.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
ये एरिया नया है, मैं गया नहीं हूँ अभी तक.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those
Copyright
great
मत
jokes
लगाना
in the
भाई.
original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
बकेट मत पूछना मेरे पास, बकेट नहीं देने वाला मैं, बकेट मेरा है.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
He doesn't understand Hindi भाई, लेकिन ये गेम बहुत ही मतलब
Now listen to me.
सोच के बनाई है.
It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows.
मैं नहीं दे रहा
That is
bucket.
its singular personality trait. Sure,
Bucket मेरी है और सिर्फ मेरी ही रहेगी.
Only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters.
Bucket सिर्फ मेरी है और मेरी ही रहेगी.
Crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
क्या हो रहा है भाई? क्या चल रहा है भाई ये गेम में? कुछ समझ.
My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you. Tell such.
हम याद रखेंगे बकेट डिस्ट्रॉयर को, हमारी यादों में रहेगा वो.
Squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Goodbye, new friend. ठीक है, बढ़िया. मैं तो जिंदा हूँ. कहाँ पैदा करेगा ये? वापस स्टार्ट. No doubt.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
कंप्यूटर. इस बार वो वाला कंप्यूटर नहीं है जहाँ पे वो हम कुछ करते थे. पीछे है क्या इस बार? अरे इस बार वो मशीनें नहीं है जहाँ पे वो कुछ हम करते थे. ठीक है, जो भी हम बकेट ले लेंगे.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
सबको मेरा बकेट चाहिए.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
भाई पूरा डायलॉग रीरिटन है भाई बकेट को रख के.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
हम इस बार बॉम्ब डिफ्यूज करने की ट्राई करेंगे.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly.
भाई लास्ट टाइम जब मैंने ये ऑन किया था तब मेरा काउंटडाउन टाइमर और बॉम्ब स्टार्ट हुआ था. इस बार काउंटडाउन टाइमर ही नहीं है. बकेट की वजह से पूरा स्टोरी बदल गया है.
Silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
ये एक एंडिंग है. ये एक एंडिंग था. फक. वापस बदल गया गाइस. बाहर का रूम अलग है.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing press. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
यहाँ पे PS5 बंद करने के लिए बताया था मुझे उसने लास्ट टाइम. इस बार वापस PS5 बंद करूंगा.
And Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise. Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket. But what use is a sense of ease?
Welcome guys to my stream.
This is what Stanley thought.
We are playing Stanley Parable 2. It has been an entertaining journey so far.
Carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came.
ये लड़की ने भी bucket वाला मतलब और एक बार recording किया है audio. Nice. फिर यहाँ से हम credits वाले area में गए थे.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
पूरा चेंज्ड है भाई, ये बकेट की वजह से पूरा ही चेंज हो गया है गेम. यहाँ पे हम आए थे पता है ना आगे थोड़ा टाइम पहले क्रेडिट्स के लिए, बट तब यहाँ पे ये सब नहीं था, पूरा चेंज हो गया है.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to
claim
it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
मैं मरा उसका कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है, सिर्फ बकेट की बात हो रही है यहाँ पे. हाँ भाई देखना चाहिए था स्ट्रीम. तू लेट आया.
And certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
इसको पकड़ना है क्या? कूद के कूद तो सकता नहीं बंदा है. ओह
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die.
बिग बकेट फैन भाई, वो KFC वाला बिग बकेट है भाई.
Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the...
अरे यार लास्ट टाइम यहाँ अटका था भाई, तब उसने मुझे PS को ऑफ करने के लिए बोला था. मैंने PS ऑफ नहीं किया क्योंकि मेरा स्ट्रीम रुक जाएगा. आई थिंक इस बार भी वो वही बोल रहा है. इट इज आस्किंग मी टू टर्न ऑफ माई PS5. बट मे बी मैं क्या करूंगा, मैं मेरे गेम को क्विट कर दूंगा एंड देन रीओपन द गेम. आई डोंट नो इफ दैट विल वर्क. पूरा PS5 ऑफ करने से अच्छा वो है.
game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
मैंने क्विट नहीं किया गेम. आई डोंट नो भाई, मैंने इस बार कुछ नहीं किया. मरने देते करके मरने दिया मैंने. क्या हुआ, क्या चेंज हुआ भाई? कुछ नहीं हुआ भाई. म्यूजिक क्यों बज रहा है
I can't
बैकग्राउंड में?
wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he
Dialogue
couldn't
change.
find a trace of his co-workers.
ये कंप्यूटर्स में क्यों ऑफ कर रहा हूँ मुझे भी नहीं पता.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
इस बार
he
बकेट
entered the
नहीं थी
door
यार.
on his left.
नहीं, मैं राइट
This
जाऊंगा.
was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
भाई ये साइड तो कभी देखा ही नहीं मैंने. बकेट गया श्रेयंस भाई, नहीं मिल रहा है बकेट, चला गया. अब पता नहीं बकेट के बिना मैं क्या करूंगा, दूंगा कैसे? कहाँ पे अटका दिया भाई? RIP बकेट भाई. भाई आधे घंटे से अटका हूँ लिफ्ट में, आगे भी लेके जा. क्या बटन दबाना है क्या? भाई जिधर से गए उधर ही डाल दिया मुझे, क्या मतलब यार? ये काहे का लिफ्ट है भाई? लिफ्ट जो तुमको कहीं पे भी लेके नहीं जाता, लेकिन वाइब्रेट हो रहा है पूरा. जा, टाइम वेस्ट.
Here's the door, just go.
इस बार पासवर्ड डालना नहीं पड़ा भाई, दरवाजा खुला रखे हियर इज द डोर जस्ट गो करके बोल दिया भाई उसने. वाह क्या बात है.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
वापस जाके वो क्रशिंग वाला ट्राई करे क्या इस बार बिना बकेट के.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
मौत
As the
पक्की है भाई.
machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
अभी लड़की बचाएगी पहले तो.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
ये सब हमने ऑलरेडी देख लिया है.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things
ये रहा
cannot
वो
be
सीन
seen.
जहाँ पे मुझे PS बंद करना पड़ेगा.
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game.
So turn off your PlayStation बोल दिया है इसने, तो I am going to do that guys, in a way to achieve an achievement and गेम में आगे बढ़ने के लिए. But also apart from that, I have been streaming from the past 3 hours. So time to come to an end guys. Good afternoon everybody. Have the rest of the day. मजे करो. Friday है, कल weekend है. मजे करो, party करो, chill करो. And see you back on another video. Maybe यही हो सकता है या फिर कुछ और. I don't really know. ये गेम मुझे इंटरेस्टिंग लगा इसलिए मैं ट्राई करना चाहता था. It was fun, trust me. जिन लोगों ने पूरा स्ट्रीम नहीं देखा है, try to see the entire stream and I'm sure you will like it. कि बहुत सारे सरप्राइजिंग एंड माइंड ब्लोइंग मोमेंट्स थे आज के स्ट्रीम में. बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, टू कंटिन्यू फर्दर, मैं अभी इसके लिए मेरे PS5 को टर्न ऑफ करने वाला हूँ. सो थैंक यू ऑल एंड गुड बाय.